Hey, everybody, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us today to talk all about food insecurity with some incredible leaders in Fort Worth, Texas. So we appreciate you being here. If you're not familiar with us, we are YouthWorks, and our heart is just to see Christ followers who are known for hospitality, service, and justice. That's what we are all about. And we do that by creating experiences that empower this generation to love their neighbors. So a few ways that we do that. We've been doing that for more than 30 years, by the way. And so we have prepackaged mission trips that happen in the summer for middle schoolers and high schoolers. We also do custom mission trips that can happen year round with all ages, and summer internships for college age young adults that happen in the summers. And then our newest offering, which we'll talk about a little bit today, is service learning trips. So we have 5 locations for that for high schoolers and young adults. And really, those focus on some core topics where we want students and young adults to get a chance to have an immersive learning experience and also a hands-on service experience. So yes, thank you again for being with us today. And we have a great group here. So we have Carlos, who is the president of YouthWorks, if you haven't met him before. And we also have John Riddle Hoover, who is everybody here today is from Fort Worth or somewhere in the vicinity. So John is at Central Storehouse there. And then we have Teresa Grady at Six Stones. And we also have Ricky Cotto at Texas Health, right? Did I get that right?
You got it.
Okay, perfect. So
Yes.
I am going to go ahead and kick it over to Carlos and we'll get this conversation started.
Awesome. Thanks, Heidi. I'm Carlos. I'm president here at YouthWorks, and I'm very excited to have this conversation because since I joined the team at YouthWorks here a few years ago, I've loved all the different ministry, the different places that we've connected young people all over the country to serve in the name of Jesus. But I'm not going to lie, somebody who lives in Texas, right here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I'm like, I want to help people connect here in my own backyard. And so this next summer, I'm very excited to be able to connect young people to serve some of the needs that literally I see on a day-to-day basis. And one of the big topics and conversations and needs that my own home church is addressing that I see from friends and partners in the area has been the issue of food insecurity. And so when we started thinking about, okay, what would, an experience look like in Texas or particularly in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, immediately I started thinking of, man, I really think we should press into this issue more here because it's such a pressing need. And I think there's so much to learn. And of course, there's so much to do. And so I grabbed a few friends and partners from the Dallas-Fort Worth area, particularly more so a little bit located closer to Fort Worth, Texas, to join me in a conversation. I know that there's been a lot of conversation around food insecurity lately with government benefits and with SNAP, and that's just been rising to the surface a lot in conversations. And so we actually weren't planning this webinar even a month ago. We said, you know what, let's put something together to have this conversation about what's going on here, what local leaders on the ground are experiencing and seeing. And each one of these people that I'm here with are directly addressing and serving and meeting the needs of folks who need food and need health and who need nutrition. So thank you guys for joining us. I'd love for the three of you to introduce yourself a little bit and share a little bit more about your organization. Let's start with Teresa. Who are you? Tell me about Six Stones.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here, and I'm excited to have a conversation and learn some things too. So I'm with Six Stones Mission Network. We're a nonprofit that started in 2009. Last year, we moved into a fabulous new 25,000 square foot gorgeous building, and so we think we've died and gone to heaven. So we have 7 major programs. The biggest one right now is our food pantry. We have a large food pantry serving this area. We mentor adults and we mentor high school kids in 3 school districts. We work on homes, and we also do Christmas, backpacks and school supplies, and a soccer program for the at-risk kids in our local school district. So and I'm the Chief Operating Officer.
Thanks. John, how about you?
Yes, I'm John Riddle Hoover. Also excited to be here, especially on the screen with Six Stones, an incredible organization that I've loved for a long, long, long time. So I'm the founder and executive director of Central Storehouse. We are a free food market and life transformation organization right on the border of Arlington and Fort Worth and DFW, really trying to address food insecurity, childhood hunger, relational poverty, spiritual poverty that's happening right here in our community.
Yeah.
We have a free food market. We see about 1,600 families a month right now. We're open 2 days a week. The numbers continue to rise because of the growing challenges in our community. But we're also serving within 7 local schools, and we're providing food bags for kids that are food insecure for each weekend throughout the school year. So we serve about 450 to 500 students right now. We think in the next couple of weeks we'll have about 650 students that we're serving every week these food bags. It's healthy proteins, trying to bring some healthier foods to their life as well. So we're doing that program also. We do partner with Six Stones in their Momentum mentoring program. So we have our own little Momentum in a box at our place where we serve our neighbors with some mentorship also. And then we're offering some one-off kind of workshops as well to help with some other needs that are in our area. One of the big ones that we all are doing now is our health and wellness focus. We work with Texas Health Resource through their grant initiative through this year, the Community Impact Grant in Fort Worth, and we work with two other agencies to provide healthcare services, some healthcare services for some neighbors with high blood pressure and diabetes in some select zip codes. We bring them in. We have some volunteer nurses that sit with them, and some health coaches also that take their blood pressure, test their A1C levels, give them some health coaching on specific topics in a 6-month period in a private event that we invite them to. And we just finished our first cohort of those individuals, and every one of them, 100% of them, saw improved health outcomes. So we're excited about that. We're about to start our second cohort, and that's becoming more and more of what we're about as well. Health issues are huge in our community as far as what we found. So that's what we do.
Speaking of Texas Health, let's kick it over to Ricky.
Hey, everybody. So glad to be here with you guys. Hey, my name is Ricky Cotto. I'm Director of Community Engagement for Texas Health Community Hope. Texas Health is the largest, hospital or healthcare provider in North Texas. And what Texas Health Community Hope is pretty much the outward facing or the outward arm of Texas Health resources. So pretty much what our group does is that we have a broad range of innovative programs and investments and collaborations for the community. And one of those pillars of Community Hope happens to be our food systems work. So not just looking at food insecurity, but also nutrition insecurity. So how do we get nutritious foods to the community that needs it the most? We know that a lot of our health issues has to do with food, so we create programs and initiatives to help address that. So a few of those programs and initiatives that we'll probably discuss here in a little bit. We have what we call Good For You pantries. So we have about 21 of those located all through North Texas. We have a program called Double Up Food Bucks, where participating locations, folks could go there and get $10 free as far as produce is concerned if they purchase $10. And we have about 29 of those locations, and then we have 7 Thrive grocery stores that are located on campus at high schools. So a few things that we do. I'm also a bivocational church planner. So I also have a church called City Post in the Carter Riverside area, and we also do a lot to support our community there.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. You guys started talking a little bit about some of the needs and addressing food insecurity particularly, but how do you define that? So when you use language like food insecurity, what's your definition of that? And what's some of the data and the needs that you're seeing and how people are being affected? And feel free, anybody, jump in here.
Okay, so I'll go.
Okay.
So Six Stones is in a food desert. Food desert and food insecurity is basically you don't have access to not only food, but quality food, right? Good food. So we have a lot of people that are buying their groceries at the local gas station and things like that, which is horrendous, right? So I think what I love is being able to bring all the healthy stuff that we bring to the community. And a lot of that, let's shout out to Ricky. I mean, we're one of the Good For You pantries.
Yeah, that's right.
2,000 pounds of fresh fruits and vegetables every week coming through here. So talk about quality food and nutritional food. That's, the partnerships are what are making it happen. And Texas Health is definitely one of those.
Yes. Yeah, and I would say when you look at the data in Tarrant County, which is where Fort Worth is located, I know that 63% of adults, specifically in Fort Worth, they suffer from diet-related chronic illnesses. So if you think of obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, all of these things could be impacted by just having some nutritious foods for people. So hunger, yes, we want to make sure people eat. That's so important. It's vital. But we also want to add that component of getting them some healthy, nutritious foods. Right. And like Teresa said, it's access. There's people that just don't have the ability to go and purchase food. There's C-stores everywhere. Those corner stores that sell chips and cigarettes, that's how they make their money. And then transportation is also another issue as well.
Yes.
Yeah, it was surprising to me to see that Texas was the #1 state in the United States for food insecurity.
That's
#1.
wild.
I would have never expected that.
Yeah.
DFW being the ranked third in food insecurity for metropolitan areas all over the country as well. I mean, that's astounding in my opinion. And so as a church, we just can't sit by and do nothing. We actually have to respond to those needs. And I mean, yeah, the food insecurity piece, access, we're also in a food desert. There's not another even food pantry around us for 3+ miles. And so people have transportation issues. We're at East Fort Worth, and there's not a lot of there's a lot of poverty in this area, and so people have a hard time with transportation issues. So we're addressing some of those needs as well. But it really is about access, but it's also about finance. The low income or no income has really been one of the big reasons why people have no access, if you will, to food because they can't afford it. And so I know that weighs heavy on a lot of our neighbors' minds when they come in the door. Is like, we can't afford these kinds of healthy foods. And same thing, we're highly focused on produce. I mean, we're giving about 20 to 25,000 pounds of produce away a month right now, and it's just pumping out the door. So people are taking it, and they want it. And so that means something, they're actually choosing the things that are healthiest for them and their kids. And I think that speaks something to us for sure. And so, access to healthy, nutritious foods, seems to be the biggest issue for people dealing with food insecurity.
Yeah.
And can I just
Go ahead.
I just want to piggyback something that John said. In the same way that there's food deserts, I think we also need to address that there's food swamps. And so a lot of people are like, well, there's restaurants all over the place. But when you have all these fast food restaurants and that's the only thing that people have to eat, that's just really difficult to feed your kid McDonald's 3 times a week and expect them to function. And so just throwing that out there as well.
Well, and I understand. I read this read an article a while back that was talking about why these food deserts are happening. Is because a quality food grocery store doesn't want to set up in a neighborhood where people can't afford what they're offering. Right. So if there's no grocery stores around in a food desert, it's because most of the time people either can't get there or they don't have the money to pay for the food in the first place. And so they become food deserts because no retailer wants to set up and not make any money on their foods that they're selling. Right. So it makes it challenging.
Yeah. What other like trends or root causes are you seeing that are contributing to this issue? So you talked about like the types of stores that are there. You mentioned like transportation earlier. Talk to me a bit more about some of the trends and causes.
Well, I think what we're seeing a lot of is people who live in apartments or rental houses, their rent is skyrocketing, right? So we had a young family come in a couple of weeks ago. Their rent just went up $500.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what the legislation is on that. It doesn't seem to be any, right? So if rents are going up and people are barely making it to start with, then if their rent goes up, they're really in a bad spot. And so we're seeing a huge increase in, the working poor. Like you've got two people working, they got a couple of kids, they're making $12, $14 an hour. They're not making it. And so, we're trying to educate them, come to us a couple times a month. You get probably $170, $175 worth of food. That's $350 for you to put towards something else, right? There's no shame in that. If you need help, that's why we're here. So I think the rental situation is out of control. That's huge.
What I appreciate about what you said too, Teresa, was the fact that you're teaching them. That's education is part of it.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, I'm not just getting free food. I can actually move those dollars to something else. And I think that's a big thing that they don't have, is people that are there for them to help give them some guidance and some mentorship, if you will, to help them along the way. From my understanding, in the last 10 years, housing costs have gone up 60% in the last 10 years. And I just don't think wages have grown at that rate in the last 10 years. I was looking at another article just yesterday and thinking about this call, that people's expenses today per month are $1,000 more than they were 4 years ago. Just regular standard cost of living expenses are $1,000 a month higher than they were just 4 years ago. That's a ridiculous increase, honestly. That's hard on anybody. Doesn't matter if you're food insecure or not. That's tough for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think for myself, when we think about grocery stores, so I'll give you an example. Like there's an area in Fort Worth where it is a food desert, but people are like, how's that a food desert? There's a Target there, there's a Whole Foods, but when apples are $4, so when the price of some of this food skyrockets because they're catering to the community that's moving in, you're leaving a specific population out, and they're not able to go and purchase that food. So we have to look at also just what's coming into the community, and making sure that people are not left out of those conversations.
Yes.
Yeah. What are you guys just seeing on the ground right now in your own organizations, your own ministries? John, I know you posted a social media just how many people were coming the other day to Central Storehouse. Just what does this feel like? What does this look like on the ground as you're meeting with people?
Yeah, I mean, we're about 20% up on our numbers just in the last 3 weeks. So every day that we're open, we're seeing between 200 and 220 to 240 families sometimes per day in a 6-hour period. And it really is, it's overwhelming for our volunteers and all that. But I mean, people just worried. SNAP cuts, I understand. I mean, that's a big issue. That kind of started the engine of more and more people coming. And if you create a quality experience like Teresa, like Six Stones does, and many other food markets and pantries that are out there, man, they're going to continue to come if they've come once, which is fine. We're here for them, but it is an overwhelming. So our space is much smaller than 25,000 square feet. And we're at maximum capacity. I mean, we're not able to let as many people as we'd like in the door per capacity ordinances for our building. And so we're trying to serve as many people as we can. But man, it's really stressful for us for sure. And that stress is not only on us, but it's also stress on our neighbors that are coming in with these issues that maybe have never walked into a food market or food pantry before. We see 30 to 50 brand new families every day that we're open. And so they come in and they have this stress, which leads to health challenges, which, leads to even greater challenges, even just trying to get the food that they're trying to get, again, to the C stores. I mean, people are just going to go wherever they can to get it, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the same increase. We're up 25% from what we normally see. The number of people we can seed is also dependent on the number of volunteers we have. So that's a huge need for us, and there's a lot of people stepping up. So most days we're fully covered. We're seeing a lot of walk-ins, a lot of first-time people, just like John said, right? My light just went off. And today is senior day. So on Thursdays, we have just seniors. If they're over 60, they can come and shop. And what we're seeing today, everybody was really crabby, but they're all afraid, right? They're afraid, and it's raining too, so that doesn't help. But we're having seniors ask, can we take more? You know, can we take more than this? And most of the time we're letting them. And we're actually letting seniors come weekly right now, just because the SNAP thing has really thrown some of them for a loop. So a lot of what we're doing is we're just loving on people. We're telling the volunteers, biggest thing you could do is smile. If they want a hug, give them a hug. You know, just be the hands and feet of Jesus and smile at them, you know? So I think just trying to comfort people and let them know, hey, we're here for you. It's okay if you need to come. If you need a little bit more, that's okay. So a lot of fear, I think, is what we're seeing.
Yeah, I think on our side, so when you look at the holistic approach of a person, there's something called the social determinants of health. So food insecurity is just one of those aspects. So when you start layering all these other ones, I mean, this could just be the straw that breaks the camel's back. So a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety. From a pastoral standpoint, because of where our church is located, the the political nature of our environment right now with ICE and with everything that's happening, there is a lot of fear, almost to the point where people don't want to go out. So it's I go to work and I go home. So they're relying on their kids, they're relying on other people to get food for them. Um, so there's a lot of fear in our communities, or certain communities right now.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys mentioned seniors. I heard you mentioned some of the immigrant population there, Ricky. What other just populations are you seeing maybe disproportionately affected, and why do you think that is?
Oh, we're seeing elderly. The elderly
Yeah.
population are really struggling right now for sure. I would say veterans, anybody that's like really dependent upon federal dollars to survive. I think they're really finding it to be a challenging season.
Yeah.
Somebody said in the board meeting this morning that they heard on the radio this morning that Dallas-Fort Worth, 1 in 4 children is undernourished,
That's
right?
right.
That's huge. So I love what John's doing in the schools. You know, when we're mentoring in the schools, we're taking food just for the class because everybody wants to eat, right? So that's also another demographic that's really
That's right.
kind of being left behind a little bit, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would add like single parents, single moms, single dads, they're just looking for help and support. Many are working long hours or even more than two, like 1 or 2 jobs. So they're just looking for ways to make it for their kids, to pay rent, car, gas, all those things, and then at the same time feed their children. So we've seen a influx in that.
Yeah, people having to make the choice to whether
Hmm.
to keep their electricity on
Yeah,
or
man.
feed their children. I've never had that stress in my life before.
Right. Well, and that's getting worse as we're coming up to Christmas, right? Because
Absolutely.
people want to buy gifts for their kids. And
Yeah.
so, we can help on some of that, but we can't buy gifts for every child in DFW. And so
Right.
there's other wonderful organizations. Everybody's trying to help, but 1 in 4 is just a big number.
Wow. Wow. Um, to shift a little bit to thinking about maybe how we think about this in our churches, and how we respond. From your perspective, what are some maybe misconceptions that people, or maybe misconceptions particularly churches, can have about hunger or maybe about nutrition in their community?
Yeah. I could go first. I mean, the biggest misconception is that people are lazy. You hear that a lot. Oh, it's that they don't work. It's that they don't want it. They don't try. And that's one of the biggest lies in our community. I mean, these are hardworking folks, and honestly, just the cost of living here, the cost of rent has all gone up, and they're trying really hard to make ends meet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much harder than people think it is. I mean, it's never just one thing either, right? It's never
Right,
just
right.
employment. They snowball into 7 different things, and then by that point, your mental health is so ridiculous because you don't know what to put as a priority in your life. You've got 7 different issues, health included, that I mean, that's just overwhelming. And I think for me, I mean, I remember years ago, prior to ever getting into this space, driving down the road, go, dude, if that dude would just knock on the McDonald's that he's standing next to and just try to get a job, like things would get better. It is not that easy. It is not that easy at all. And there's so many challenges that keep people from being able to do that.
Mm.
Yeah, I think a few years ago, Catholic Charities trained us on the poverty mindset. I think John was part of that training. And I think that's an education that we try to give to our volunteers about the people that are coming in. They have a poverty mindset, right? That's a trauma to their brain.
Yeah.
They can't make long-term plans. You may just think, well, why don't they just do this? Or how come they bought that nice pair of shoes and they could have done this, but they actually don't have the capacity or the brain function to be able to do long-term planning because poverty is a trauma to the brain, right? So I think as much as you can educate people, it helps with that, because that's what I put as my number one thing, Ricky, was that, people are lazy. They just should get a job. Well, hello, most of them have a job.
Yeah, exactly.
There's always some, right? There's always some, but
Yeah.
that's not the norm that we're seeing.
That's right.
Amidst all just the difficulty that you see and the needs that you really are experiencing on a day-to-day basis, I mean, what keeps you just motivated and inspired to continue in this work, particularly just scripturally? Like, what's the truth? What's the theology? What's the thing you keep coming back to stay in this when, I mean, you're in front of all these different needs, I mean, that you guys see on a day-to-day basis?
Yeah, I could go first. I mean, two texts come to my mind, like come to my brain immediately. I love like Jeremiah 29:7. I know everybody quotes 11, but it says, seek also the peace, prosperity of the city,
Yes.
whom I've carried you to. Pray to the Lord on its behalf, because if the city prospers, you too will prosper.
That's good.
And really that term prosper means shalom in the original languages, and shalom is more than peace. It's like the health, the security, like everything about that city. So we're God's placed us here, and we're going to seek the shalom of the city. And then also Matthew 22, where they're trying to pin Jesus down, and they're like, what's the greatest commandment? And Jesus gives them two of them. And he's like, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, strength, and love your neighbor as yourself. So if we're to love God, then we have to love our neighbor the same way we would want to be loved and taken care of. And that's, for me, those are the two that carry the word.
That's great. I heard this said a while back, that was, there's a church because there's a mission. There's not a mission because there's a church. Oh, we got a church. Now what do? That's not, we have a mission God's called us to. I mean, right to Ricky's point, love God and love others.
Yeah.
And because of that, we have a church. God has built this church structure for us because there's this great mission, this kingdom work that God has called us to. And we can't just ignore that. The mission statement for Central Storehouse is loving neighbors, feeding souls. And because we take the biblical, mandates for our lives seriously, this is how we love our neighbors. And we open our hands and open our arms to anybody that needs it. And we love him in the name of Jesus. Jesus tied all of his practical ministry to making himself known, right? When he fed the 5,000, he said, man, these people are hungry. Let's feed them. Oh, by the way, this is the kingdom. Right? The kingdom is here, and so he did all that he did was to point people to redemption and to point people to the eternal kingdom that's coming.
Yeah.
Right.
Good.
So, I just read the 5,000, feeding of the 5,000 again. It says Jesus was moved with compassion. And I'm like, that's what the key is, right? We need to be moved with compassion. These are his created beings that he made, that he loves. And so with him in us, we should be loving them to the best of our ability, right? And not even the difficult ones and the ones that are, not grateful and all that. It doesn't matter. We love them all, right? Because you don't know what is underneath that. There's a lot of fear underneath the anger, and they're having a hard time. So we just love on them the best we can. And I think also, my husband was laid off of a corporate job when our kids were little, and we ate out of a food pantry for a while. And boy, we were not treated very nicely. People talked over us and all that. So for me, it's a big respect issue for the people that are coming in, because we don't know their situation, but God does. So let's just be, how would Jesus treat them if they walked in and he was standing right there, right? So that is big for me. that I want people to know that it's not a shameful thing if you need help, right? Let's do the best we can to get you out of the situation. But if you need to be here for a little bit, that's okay. So
That's right.
that word compassion that you used, Teresa, is so powerful too. I mean, I was studying that word just the other day, and in the Greek, it means this deep guttural
yes,
level,
in
like,
your belly.
I can't not
Yes.
respond.
Yes.
And Jesus had that kind of compassion on everybody that he served and he loved on. And so I think
right.
I mean, we can't hide the fact that the Spirit of God lives inside of us and he moves in our hearts. And when your blood boils, when you're like, oh my gosh, the Spirit of God is calling me to do this. And at my deep gut level, I need to have compassion on these people in need.
Yeah. Hey, I love the same theme here, but I love this question that just came in. If you could preach at my church this Sunday, what would you tell them about food insecurity?
Oof.
It's nothing to not, you have to do something. You have to respond. I mean, I think, I did preach on a Good Samaritan not long ago, and it came to my attention as I looked at it that the Jewish man that was hurting and laying on the side of the road, the Samaritan crossed over to take care of him, and they're completely opposite of one another. They're enemies in that time. And so it doesn't matter what they look like, what they're wearing, what their background is, or what they believe. Man, we're called to love them regardless. And food insecurity is just one issue out of so many. You look at the landscape of nonprofits and all that they address. There's a million things that these nonprofits are built to serve and to support, because there's so much of a need out there. And so this is just one of those things we cannot just walk on by like we don't even see it. It's real. It's in our face.
Yeah.
And we've got to be motivated as people of God who represent the kingdom in our communities. My goodness. I mean, if you want to lead people to a relationship with Jesus, you want to make disciples of all nations, they're here. So open your hands, open your arms, welcome people in to serve the needs that they have, and you will be astounded at how God opens their heart to the gospel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think of like John 6, where Jesus talks about like how he's the bread of life. And if we're going to tell people that there's the bread of life where you will never hunger again, we have to meet their physical need first.
Yes.
Because it's going to be hard it's like, oh no, Jesus, you'll never hunger again. It's like, man, I haven't eaten like for days. So if we're going to proclaim the kingdom and say Jesus is the bread where you'll never go hungry again, they got to know what it's like to have food.
Amen.
Yes.
Where do you guys see churches both doing well in addressing hunger? Like, what are some positive examples you see, and where do you see maybe churches have some room for growth in how they're responding?
Yeah. I think churches are doing great with their generosity. I've seen churches respond. I've seen churches give financially. I think where there's room for growth is focusing more on collaborations and partnerships.
Yeah.
So
That's
when you
good.
have like Six Stones, when you have like Central Storehouse, so instead of me as a church going out and figuring out how do I do my own thing, why don't I go to these locations who have an infrastructure, an expertise, they know where the people are, they know where the needs are, and give into that instead of like me just trying to figure out how I could feed people on my own. So I think that we need to be a little bit more collaborative with folks who are already like with kingdom, like just having a kingdom minded focus.
Yes.
That's
I
really
love
good.
that. And I was thinking about that too, because we need to do what we do well and let the church do what they do well, right?
Right.
So it's not really necessary for us to start life groups here when we're surrounded by 4 or 5 churches that are doing life groups, right?
Absolutely.
So things like that, if we can put people into community, which is what churches do really well, we can help people for a certain number of weeks or months or whatever, but we're not the long-term solution. We want them to know Jesus and get into community where they have long-term discipleship and stuff like that. So the churches that want to take on those people, I love that, right? That's the ideal partnership, I feel like.
It's so great. Yeah, and everything you just said, Teresa, was right on. I think it's just a matter of the church's understanding that there's a need, and our job is to help funnel people as faith-based leaders, as faith-based nonprofit leaders. You come to me, we're going to help you. And by the way, I have 7 churches that are volunteering or whatever it is. Like, you need to meet Ray. Ray is down the street at a Bible church. You need to meet Ray, because he'll love on you. He'll invite you to church. You follow him. You need this in your life. Our job is not to disciple the people. we'll open our mouths and share the gospel and see God change them in the name of Jesus. But then our job is then to point them to churches who can disciple them, because that's their job.
Right.
And if churches will, if churches understand that and they understand that model, then reach out to those faith-based nonprofits that are out there doing work in your community, support them with volunteers and finances, and let's figure out how to build the kingdom in these communities.
Exactly.
And what you guys are talking about with this type of collaboration, we use the language at YouthWorks. We talk about respectful service as one of our primary values in all the things that we do. And a big part of that is making sure that, we can connect groups and churches to great local organizations like yours that are contributing to long-term efforts there. And again, like you guys are more experts in this space than I am. So we want to make that connection and making sure that, that we can do the most possible with the time, with the finances that we have at the church level. Where have you seen just churches and nonprofits like working together the best? Like, what are some good examples of that kind of collaboration that you're after?
Yeah, I would say from a pastoral level, like when the senior leadership's involved, then those become like the best partnerships. I know, like with Texas Health, we not just in our food systems work, but we have faith community nursing, we have community health workers, we have ways to serve and love our people and partner with the churches. And the best partnerships are when senior leadership, when the pastor aligns. So it's like, hey, here's my vision. Here's what the Lord has like given me for this community. How can we work together to make that happen? But when the senior leadership's not involved, or where the pastor is not aligned, when he just like gives the blessing and then like gets out of the way, those partnerships usually don't turn out well, or they don't sustain very long.
Yeah. I think there are so many good ways that we're seeing the church partner with us. I think one of the things I really appreciate is, at Christmas time, we do 21 parties in the 21 elementary schools in HEB. And every one of those parties is adopted by a church. And the church takes ownership of that party, right? And so we're providing the gifts, we're providing the food, we're providing everything they need to make the party happen, but they are the ones actually doing it and doing a gospel presentation, following up with the families afterwards, right? So it's like we're doing what we're good at, they're doing what they're good at. And that's I think it's a beautiful relationship. Yeah.
Because these nonprofits, they have more access to resource than a church does, right?
Absolutely.
I mean, really, church has the people that's in their church that are supporting and that are giving dollars to support the mission of their church. Nonprofits have access to far greater resource, and so nonprofits are a great way to just plug and play your people. You want your people serving the community, find a nonprofit that's aligned with your values, because they're able to get the dollars, and just help them have volunteers. I mean, volunteer coordination is a massive piece of every nonprofit. And if churches would connect with faith-based nonprofits and say, hey, we'll help you out with the volunteers, we'll send people your way because you're doing gospel work, but know that the nonprofits working their rears off to try to get the finances to support their community in all of these ways. I mean, it's a great partnership. Great partnership.
Yeah. Now, here at YouthWorks, we're focused, not only on providing these partnerships and making sure that people can serve, but particularly, wanting to do that with the next generation, wanting to help young people with teenagers and with young adults learn all the things that you guys are talking about and go and do something like you were talking about early, John. Like, we can't just sit by and watch. Like, we want to instill that early in Christ followers that, yes, we're called to go and address these needs, in our neighbors that are around us. At the same time, it's with young people particularly, this is natural for them. Like, teenagers are telling us, young adults are telling us that they care deeply about these issues. Why do you think that is? Like, why are young people seem to be so motivated right now by issues of particularly hunger or issues of justice?
Yeah, I think just from my perspective, I think like this generation, specifically this generation of young people, I've seen like there's two things. They want truth and they want to be able to practice it.
Yeah.
And I think we're at a time in our churches where like everyone's kind of over the fluff, and the millennial generation did a great job creating ways to fake it. That's what the social media comes in. This generation now is calling out the fakeness, and they're ready to do something different. And So I think that to utilize this generation to kind of like get them out and just say, hey, this is what we're doing. I need you here. This is why. This is the purpose. And they're showing up. I mean, they're our largest volunteer base.
Wow.
Yeah, whenever we do stuff out in the community. So it's been really cool to see that.
Well, I was reading a statistic the other day that 50% of all 2-year and 4-year college
Hmm.
students have had some sort of food insecurity issue in the past 30 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they're
Amen.
experiencing it themselves. They
Hmm.
come from homes that may be close to home, close to their hearts and their experiences in their life growing up. But there's also such access to reels, such access to
Mhm. Yeah.
technology. They see the stories. I mean,
Yeah.
like all of us nonprofit leaders that are trying to gain the hearts of our donors are telling stories, and we're doing it on social
Mhm.
media. So
Yeah.
access to these stories is at every turn, and so they're seeing it and going, "Hey, you know what? I can do something about this."
Yes.
And we just need to empower them to do that for sure.
How how can how can you see young people getting involved, even more so or on a deeper level? Somebody, typed in, how do you get youth who are so busy involved? Are there stories or examples of where you've seen particularly teenagers or young adults who have made a significant impact in this area, or maybe even being introduced? Like, some of them might be making a deep impact, some of them might be that busy student who plays all the sports, but they're starting to get involved. Like, how have you seen that work well with young people?
Yeah.
So I think we have a lot of groups that come for whatever reason. Sometimes they're school groups, sometimes they're church groups or whatever.
Hmm.
But what I love is the kids that come back on their own, right?
Yeah.
Because they've bought in. So we try to explain what we're doing and why we're doing it and the people that
Hmm.
we're helping. And it just doesn't take a whole lot.
Yeah.
So, I was in the New Hope Center last week. We were crazy busy, and I was serving with Mo. Mo's a young guy, late teens. And he was just being very helpful, but there was a Arabic speaking gentleman that
Mm.
was very frustrated, and I was fixing to get my app out and try to do some Google Translate. And Mo came over and started talking Arabic, and we didn't know spoke
Yeah.
Arabic. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I love to do this. I love to
That's
be
awesome.
here, and because you really
Mm.
need me." And we're like, "Yeah, we really need you, right?" So he
Mhm.
comes on a regular basis, and what I watched was him calm that guy down and then shop with him. And they were laughing, carrying on by the time they left. But Mo bought in to how he could be helpful and how he could make a difference, right?
That's awesome.
So I love seeing that. I love seeing the kids that come for community service and
Yeah.
then their community service is done and they come back because they really enjoy not
Mhm.
only that, but they enjoy the community that's here that's all doing the same mission together, right? So
Mhm.
we've got our retired people that are here every day. They're welcoming in the teenagers that are coming to help, and they're all laughing together, but they're all serving together. And I think there's some kind of sense of belonging that
Mm.
also feeds into that, right? That I can do this too. Yeah,
Wow.
it's
I think of
great.
churches, if they can bolt on some of these missional opportunities to what they're doing already, they don't even have to create something new. There was a church down the road from us, Temple Baptist Church, that VBS this summer, their vacation Bible school, the kids wanted to raise money to help us create healthier food options in our student bags that we're giving to the local students at these schools
Mhm.
every week.
Mm.
So they raised $8,000, which would fund the entire school year for us to
Wow.
elevate the health quality of the foods we provide for these students. So there's like something serious involved with kids that are serving kids. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Yes.
They're not filling the pantry with healthy foods. No, no, no. They understand the dollars that they raise are going directly to serve the students that are the same age as them, living in the same neighborhoods that are dealing with these real issues. And I think that's huge. One of the kids and their mother were talking about how the kid got so excited he went home and he emptied his entire piggy bank in front of his mom. And so I was like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "We're going to help get these kids some healthier foods." I'm like, "Man, that's what you want."
Yeah.
That's one way to kind of bolt on to what's already happening.
Yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
VBS, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, just talking about like ministry of presence. So it's like, hey, this doesn't have to just be a one-time thing. You
Yeah.
know, the more you come back, the more people are going to know you, and then you're going to see transformation happening of something that you're a part of.
Hmm.
So really, not just pitching this whole like, hey, we're going one time. It's
Yeah.
now we're going to go back a few times. So a ministry of presence, and then also getting them involved in the buy-in. So as you're planning as a leader, maybe pick about 2 or 3 students with you and get their input. Like, hey, we're gonna go and we're gonna go clean this community garden or this urban farm. Like, what do you think we should do? And just get them involved and you're creating leaders, you're creating buy-in, they're gonna invite their friends, and that helps to continue the sustainability of it all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's good. Um, John, you talked about, I really like what you talk about, like tagging on to things you're already doing.
Mhm.
How might more groups, talk to me more about how groups might get their young people engaged when they're really doing nothing right now, like they're starting from zero.
Mhm.
How can they go from that to, okay, we want to start addressing this maybe for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, my first response would be you've got to introduce the issues to
Yeah.
Yeah.
these
Yes.
kiddos and find out what they're passionate about. You can tell what
Mhm.
they're passionate about when you have conversations about these things. The kids lean in, they get closer to the issues, and then you have an opportunity as a leader to introduce them to people that are making a difference in these places, and then those leaders hopefully will say, "You need to come join us, come join us in this work that's being done." And I think also too, I mean, because the kids want to make a difference. We know that these younger generations really want to make a difference, and I think you could allow them some space to create or be innovative
Mhm.
in some of
Yeah.
these
Oh, that's
things that
good.
we're trying to design. I mean, how do you handle some of the transportation issues that we're struggling with? And so I think that's why kind of mobile food pantries became a
Mhm.
thing for a while.
Yeah.
So if you take a problem like transportation or access to protein, which is a struggle that I'm having right now, and you put that out in front
Mhm.
of these kids that are smart and say,
Hmm.
let's dream about
You're right.
what might this look like? How could you create something that would help these people love your neighbor and really honor the Lord while you do it? And then bring that
Mhm.
to the nonprofit leaders and have a roundtable and a focus group with these kids. And I think you'd be surprised at what comes of it.
That's
Absolutely.
right. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's really encouraging to hear about that like innovation side and I mean how much young people have to contribute. That's why we use a lot of the language of we like to talk about this generation. It's not just the next generation, like they can make a difference now. Like we don't need to wait. They don't have a JV version of the Holy Spirit. They got the
That's
whole
right.
thing. They can go love their neighbors, make a difference now.
Yeah.
What else is encouraging you in your work right now? Do you look to the maybe the future of hunger relief or nutrition? What encourages you about the future of this work?
Yeah, I think for us, what we're seeing is we're seeing more, I guess, for profit buying
Mm,
in.
Yeah.
So we're seeing more companies that are getting on board with these issues, that are saying, hey, how do we pour back into the community that we work in? So a lot of dollars are coming from like these organizations and these companies that want to see this. So that's been encouraging. And then I think also what we've seen that's been working really well is taking a layering approach. So it's not just food access, nutrition access, but it's also education. It's also
mhm.
teaching like literacy. So it's like stacking all of this on top of each other, and we're really seeing some impact in our community.
I think the greater the conversation grows,
Hmm.
the more people that are having the conversation, the more hope we have of seeing an even greater impact in this area.
Mm, yeah.
Yeah. I think also I'm encouraged by the nonprofits playing well together.
That's right. Yeah.
That's really important, right? There's no need for competition. And if you're doing something well, we're not going to try to recreate that. We're going to, partner with you on that. So that's been a very encouraging thing. And I think has been noticed by quite a few people like, oh, in my area, none of the nonprofits play well together, right? Well,
Mhm.
I think there's a real kingdom mindset
Yeah.
among the nonprofits that we're partnering with. And so we don't have to be everything. We can partner with other parts of the body that are doing that stuff, right?
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, as we kind of wrap up in the next 10 minutes or so, I want to know, is there a story of transformation that you've experienced in your organization and your ministry that just reminds you of why this work matters so much?
Mhm. I think what we've seen is our work with our schools, with the healthy hubs that we've established, not just across our schools, but some community centers. What data is showing us that we know that kids that are getting more nutritious foods tend to do better. So their test scores are better, enrollment's better. They miss school less because they feel better. So um, we've I know in Fort Worth, we have our struggles with education, but we have seen in certain schools test scores that have gone up because of the installation of our healthy hubs.
Wow.
I love that. I was thinking more of an individual story. Six Stones is in the middle of a lot of apartments. And when we first opened here, one of the guys that lives in the apartments behind us came over to get food. And he was just mad at everything, right? Mad at God, mad at the world. And we just loved on him. And over the course of a few months, he got saved here. And now he is serving every time the doors are open. Even when the pantry's closed, he's here stocking.
Mm,
He loves us. He's found community. And he's being, discipled by the people that are working around him, basically. But and we found out that he's older than me, and we found out that he used to drive big semis for a living. So now he's like, oh, I can go pick up food for you in your truck and all that. And we're
Come
like,
on.
fantastic.
Yeah,
So
you can.
what I love is we have a lot of people that found us because they came for help, but
Yeah.
they
mm,
stayed to continue serving,
Yeah.
which
wow.
is transformative in their lives, right? Because
Mhm,
they've gone from being out of community into community, and we get to speak into their lives and love on them every day. So I love that.
mm,
That's the greatest endorsement, I think, Teresa, to
Yeah.
organization doing well is when your neighbors have buy. We have the same thing, and we've got some 30 neighbors that we serve that became volunteers, and
Yes.
they are sharing the mission better than we are. It's because they've seen real life change happen.
Mhm.
There's a guy named James that came. He was only mid-30s. Him and his wife have two kiddos. Both have allergies, and his wife has some pre-existing health conditions that made life challenging for them. And he lost his job. And so now he doesn't have necessarily an income stream to be able to take care of their family.
mm,
And so James comes to us, tells us his story. Um, Thankfully, he already had faith in Jesus, which is a blessing. But he started coming to get food. For about 6 months. He was coming twice a month. And at the end of his time, he came up to us and just shared how thankful he was that he had a chance to choose the foods that he wants off his shelf.
Yeah.
So our client choice model allowed him to get the foods that he needed for his kids
Mhm.
that were allergic to a lot of things, and the food that was healthy enough for his wife to eat and existing health conditions he's challenged with. And that was the one of the biggest blessings for him, was to be able to have that freedom of choice, to be able to take care of his family with high quality foods that would keep them healthy and safe. And then he came to us at the end and said, look, I've been here 6 months. I got a job. Things are going well. I don't need to come here anymore and get food anymore. And then he prayed for us. He circled our people up and he prayed for
mm,
us, which for us was just a beautiful gift. Our volunteers often say that they're more blessed. They're certain that they're more blessed than the neighbors that are actually coming through.
mm.
I agree.
Wow. What a good note.
Mm.
And that is encouraging. That is inspiring. It reminds me why I'm here and why we do what we do at YouthWorks. So I very much appreciate y'all's time. You literally got all kinds of needs that you're meeting and
Mhm.
things that you're doing and people that you're leading and volunteers that you're mobilizing.
Mhm.
uh, John, I know you got people like lined up outside the door right now coming into Central Storehouse. So thank you so much for sharing with this group of leaders who are tuning in, that are trying to get their young people connected. Something
Yeah.
that was said earlier. Two things I want to pair together. John, you mentioned the importance of introducing students to this concept so that they'd engage. That's why we're putting together these service learning experiences.
Yeah.
We know that for a lot of folks watching or who might come on that experience, that's a 1 week experience. You can do good, and they can come help and volunteer, and that's great, and we love it. But really what's happening is they're being introduced and immersed and learning, and even more learning than what we can do in 1 hour here, so that they can go home and do what you were talking about, Ricky, and go be a presence in their own community. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about volunteering for a couple hours or going on a mission trip for the week. It's about folks coming and learning and seeing how God is moving, because with all the needs that we just heard, God is moving in Fort Worth.
Amen.
And he's doing amazing things in Fort Worth. And so we want to introduce students to that. We want them to learn from great partners like you, but ultimately we want them to go home and make a difference with their own neighbors, and wherever it is that they are in their own schools and the places that God has called them to. So thank you guys for being here. If you're interested in learning more about service learning with us here in Fort Worth, we will send out a link with that, with some more information if you registered for this. So come learn alongside great leaders like these and serve alongside of them here with us next summer. If you have any questions about service learning or anything else for myself or for these wonderful partners here in Fort Worth, feel free to respond to that message. We'd love to get you connected. Love to do anything we can to help you serve in the name of Jesus. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, Carlos. Great job.
Thank you, Carlos. This is great, y'all.
Thank you. Awesome.
Hey,